Hi, my name's Adrian Demain, and this was my one and only magazine cover from Germany, Monster Skateboard Magazine. My only trip, first trip over to Germany in '86, and at the time, for whatever reason, none of the other Powell riders could go. Nobody else could go. Stacy called me up and said, "Do you want to go to Germany and England?" And me, never been to Europe. I said, "Sure, I'll go." And so they packed me up and sent me off to Germany. Flew into Amsterdam, and Klaus Grabke picked me up in Amsterdam, and I think by then he was riding for Santa Cruz, but because of his ties with Titus Skates, who was putting on a contest
and made the magazine.
They sent him to pick me up, and quickly my favorite story from that picking me up in the airports, back then when you flew into Amsterdam, going through customs, you had to kind of go through this corridor that had a big plexiglass wall that you could see the outside, but you still had to go through this maze. And so I'm walking through and I see him and another guy skating through the thing. I go, "Well, that must be Klaus." And he sees me and he figures that I'm the guy coming from California. So he skates up to the plexiglass, and right at the plexiglass comes up to me and he puts his hands on the glass and says, "Can you understand me?" in better English than most of my friends. And I just thought it was so funny. And he meant, "Can you hear me?" But it was just the funniest thing because his English is perfect. Yeah. He speaks, I think, 7 languages perfectly, like fluently. So it was just very funny. So one of my favorite memories is him picking me up. So then I went to his house, and then we went to Munster for the contest. And although by the first day I did all right, second day my very first round of jet lag hit me, and I was kind of an incoherent mess.
And where was this ramp?
So this was in Munster.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can tell, it's metal transitions with a cement
concrete
bump. So it's very permanent structure. And I think for many years it was the contest location for the Munster Mastership.
Oh.
So obviously they had it for many years before I came.
But the contest you skated that year was indoors?
No,
or was on that ramp?
This was on this ramp, because it was before they had the pool,
big arena,
the indoor arena thing. So this was very low budget ramp, and then really right next to it, kind of just in the parking lot, street contest of curbs and very rudimentary no transition ramps.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty embarrassing footage of me skating in the street contest, trying to beat Tommy Guerrero.
And how long had you been on Powell at this point?
So I got on Powell really December 1983. So I'd been on the team for just a couple of years. Yeah. And so I'm still amateur, but because none of the pros could go, they sent me over. I represented Powell and Tracker, and so I was kind of the guy. And they made kind of a big deal out of it over there. And some of my friends still say it was a big deal, and for me, I was kind of embarrassed because, especially with that day of jet lag on contest day, I couldn't even skate the contest. I could barely stand. And Klaus, in a gesture of solidarity, he didn't skate the finals either, because he said, "Well, if he can't skate, I can't skate." And so we kind of like bolstered up, because I felt so bad that I was just useless. But also it's like Nicky Guerrero, Florian Bohm, the Swedes.
Was Nicky on GNS or was on Powell at this time?
Nicky was still on GNS, and they called him the Chris Miller of Europe.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because he's still ripping, and he's still great style, still such a nice guy. And amazed me then. I was like, I have to skate against that guy. So it was really hard for me to like.
So was there a European Powell amateur verticalist at this time?
I feel bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And oddly enough, I remember the silliest things, but I can't remember. It was such a whirlwind. I was only there for a week.
Yeah.
And things were just kind of between the jet lag and between just my first time over there. All I remember was hanging out with the Swedes in the hotel room. You know, they put us in the kind of the multi-bed room, and so it was Hans Putis Jakobsen, Tony Jansen,
Anders Pulpanek?
yeah, and was he, Anders?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Anders Tellen.
Yes, now.
Yes, yes, Anders. That's where we met. And Anders could barely speak English at that time, but we had a lot of like hand gestures and you do this and that. Lots of laughing. Still a good friend of mine. Still really close friend of mine. Even though I never see him, but you know, every few years. But still consider him a very good friend. And again, yeah, Florian Bohm, who had a company. Although I'm writing directors in this, he gave me a set of his knee pads called anti-hospital devices.
Oh.
Better at that time, better than any knee pad that anybody was putting out, and so he was kind of ahead of the game. Had the longer, knee protection down to the shin, and just really high quality foam and longer caps. So he was kind of like, ahead of the game. Unfortunately, I think because he was making them himself out of his garage, he couldn't really go very far with it except for in Europe. But anyway. Yes, thank you, Florian, for those. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, just one of my best experiences.
And what do you remember about, like, how long from when the cover came out till you actually got a copy, and what were your thoughts at the time seeing your first cover?
If I remember correctly, I didn't see this until the next year when I went back to the contest. So yeah, it was kind of a big surprise for me.
Awesome.